Hello everyone, Thundering Steve here, and today we will be featuring a mono-red Alchemy deck. The list is in the below. I'm going to talk about the general plan of the deck, and then we'll play a couple of games. So, let's go. This is going to be a very, very simple overview of the deck. We are mono-red, and we want to put out our creatures as quickly as we possibly can, deal with other opposing creatures, and win. So we have, the standard mono red cards. So Kumano faces Kakkazan, Bloodthirsty Adversary, Play with Fire, and Thundering Raiju. But it also has a lot of alchemy cards. So Tiefling Outcasts is a 1/1 with double team. And what double team is, when you attack with it, you get a copy of it in your hand without double team. So it's a 1/1 for 1 mana, but if you get to attack with it, you get another creature, and that creature buffs this, and they all buff each other, and it's a really big buff circle. And these cards can get out of hand very, very quickly. But the important thing is, it buffs demons, devils, imps, and all tieflings. And we also have a 2/1 with haste devil that, gets the buff from the tiefling, but it also gives us treasures, and then can turn those treasures, if we don't need to use them, into other stuff. Nothing particularly wonderful, but better than nothing. And then we also have Ambergris, which is, a 3/2 haste that you can specialize to discard a card from your hand, attack, and just deal a lot of damage. So we have a lot of haste creatures, things that deal a lot of damage very, very cheaply, and we just want to really kill our opponents before they get to do or try anything cool. So, with that being said, let's play some games. So this is a good hand. We have Kumano on turn 1, which will let us have a Bloodthirsty Adversary. That's a 3/3 on turn 2. And that's just going to really, really increase our clock. That's probably the best start our deck can have. So we're off to a really good start. So this deck also has Traumatic Prank as a card. So it is a threaten effect that we get to steal a creature for a turn. But the reason why it's good in here, because normally threaten effects aren't particularly wonderful. When we threaten a creature, not only will it deal damage to our opponent throughout the rest of the game, the creature does have to attack, so it isn't a blocker. So Traumatic Prank can often turn into a better removal spell, because you get rid of a creature that you don't ever have to deal with, really, for the rest of the game, unless it kills you. And that's just really, really good. So it looks like our opponent is on runes or something, so we can just clear out their board and attack. That's really all we want. Now, again, I would love a land, so we could Traumatic Prank something. But we also have removal for their other cards that they could possibly have, so, like, it's not too scary, but a little scary. Kami of Transmutation. Okay. So at least this Molten Impact should kill everything by our opponent. Looks like our opponent's trying to do something cool, but we will never see what that is. GG. Okay. This is not a particularly wonderful hand. Again, we don't have any pressure on turn 1 or turn 2. However, Ambergris is really, really good. And I think, against an unknown opponent, I don't mind this hand. But of course, we draw a creature or something to do, so that makes the hand much better. If we can draw a turn 2 creature, I would really love that, so let's do that. Nope. So we lose out from the Kumano, but at least we kill the Trelasara. Now, what would be bad here would be the 2/4 Angel. Because our opponent's just at a lot of life, and we need to be able to start pressuring them right away. Ideally, our opponent does the Cabaret Courtyard and doesn't follow it up with anything. So there we go. That's wonderful. Look, and we get to deal a lot of damage here. I am gonna decline. Also, Traumatic Prank is very good against the different big life gain decks in a lot of cases, because you can steal a really, really huge card and then not have to just, like... You can get a really big surprise lethal out of nowhere. So this is what? Our opponent's at 2, we get to play with fire and kill them. GG. Okay, we have a turn 1 play with fire, which can interact with a lot of aggressive strategies. It looks like our opponent's gonna blue here. So no idea what to expect. We'll end the turn. Sadly, all of our Molten Impacts aren't particularly wonderful here, because it looks like our opponent's on a more control-oriented board. Our opponent is on Esper, so the Molten Impacts can be a little nice, so I'm not entirely sad, just a little sad. Ooh, a March here? Okay. But it looks like our opponent's just on white-blue. Okay, not sure what that could be. It could either be a counterspell or I guess it could be any of the Foretold cards. We don't know. But I'm assuming it's either counterspell or Doomscar here. Ooh, I wonder what our opponent is trying to decide here. I don't think you counter the play with fire. Oh, Test of Talent set? Okay. Test of Talents also will, reveal our hand. So our opponent knows what to play around, which is kind of smart. The double Molten Impact is a very sad giveaway for us. So we're gonna do this, right? Attack for 3. We'll get the double team in our hand. And then we'll cast this Tiefling Outcast. This means if our opponent has a Doomscar, they're going to want to cast it now. And then we can Ambergris our hand away if we need to for lands, because the Molten Impacts aren't going to be that relevant. Yeah. So if we draw a land, we can Thundering Raiju. Oh, look, and our opponent is probably on Esper. Alright. So this is kind of okay. Interesting. I feel like if our opponent had the Wandering Emperor, it would have been done during their own turn? Oh, okay, the Siphoner. Okay. So our opponent, what, is gonna probably Doomscar here? Yep. It's only one. So we're gonna attack and get rid of our hand because all those cards aren't particularly wonderful. And that was Den was a good draw there because Den is now lethal. If our opponent taps out, right? And it was GG. Alright, we go first. We have a big spend on turn 2, and hopefully our opponent is some type of aggro deck. Mono red is kind of the one we didn't want to see because they can actually interact with us here. Yeah, which is a little bit of a shame. And also one of the problems with Molten Impact against the mono red deck is that oftentimes our opponent is not going to have multiple creatures out on the battlefield. So the impact's 1-for-1. It doesn't become really 2-for-1 often, and it's a little really bad. It might be what our opponent is just doing. Yeah. Our opponent is really using our bad cards against us in a way. Traumatic Impact is very, very interesting here. We'd love our opponent to play a card. We're at 5. Uh-oh. We could very easily die here. Our opponent GG'd us. Which is interesting. Okay. We do take 3. We're at 2. And we win. I guess it was GG. Well, everyone, thank you for watching me play some Mono Red in Alchemy. This deck is really, really nice, and I would recommend it for people who are just getting into Alchemy. Again, I always talk about how Mono Red isn't as, simple to play all the time, because with this deck, too, there are a lot of lines, specifically with Molten Impact, and how you want to navigate turns to get the most out of it when you want to, specialize Ambergris and when to discard. Like, a lot of that stuff does matter, and it all causes just, a minute amount of percentage points, but it's still stuff. But even though it's not necessarily as simple as you want, it is a good starting point, like always, for people just first getting to the format, because, there's a lot less stuff you need to know going on, and maybe a lot of less different play patterns than you're used to. So, Mono Red, this deck is great. It is familiar, and I would highly recommend it if you want to kill your opponents before they, before they get to do anything really fun, right? And that's our favorite part of Magic. But anyway, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. Watch me or go follow me at twitch.tv/ThunderingRaiju to watch me stream live. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.